Hello Professor, Daniel Goodrum again for my third video update for my final presentation for my centipede. This one I'm just going over the mushroom grid. I got all that to work, so I have two factories. My first one is a grid factory, so this is for making the grid. Doesn't use recycling. Um, Possibly could have, but I decided against it. The time that this is made is each time there is a new player, so every time a new attractor is initiated, or a player 1 or a player 2, the player class goes and initiates its own grid for each of those classes. So here's the player, or the grid factory, which is a singleton. Um, the grid factory creates a new grid. This is because I created this as a secondary grid after my first grid, so I just named a new grid. Kind of irrelevant. So the way when it's initiated, it goes through. It loads the bitmap for a mushroom. I shouldn't have done that. I should have just referenced the mushroom factory, so I could get the. Because all I really wanted were the animation width and height. Um, and then I go through. I have a single. I have an array that is an array of grid spaces, and my grid spaces look like this. It has an X and a Y float value, so it gives you the min and max X and Y values for that grid space in pixels. It has a pointer to a mushroom and a true or false if it contains a mushroom. Um, Boolean if it's in the player area, and then a function to get those values. Um, and then it goes through and creates the grid. When the grid is initiated, it sets all the mushrooms in that grid randomly using uh, getting these grid locations. Oh, sorry, it doesn't place mushrooms at the beginning. It just creates the grid, um, and then each time it wants to place a mushroom, it gets a grid location. Um, Down here, so it gets a new mushroom location. It gets a random value. It checks if it contains a mushroom. If it does, then it just recursively calls itself until it doesn't, until it finds a space that doesn't have a mushroom, and then it returns that location so that it'll create one there. Um, Pretty straightforward. The grid space, the new grid, I have it set as a game object. It shouldn't be. This check direction was used when I was doing a non-state machine. Um, so it's null, but it's still there. And then my mushroom factory is also singleton, pretty straightforward. Um, and and then my mushroom is also pretty straightforward. That's it for this one. Thank you very much.